Hi everyone, this is session 4 of Table Talk. In this session we're looking at how to structure your build. In fact, this is something that you should really look at right at the beginning, but in the last session when we looked at the community infrastructure levy, that was something that we wanted to address as early as possible because of the issues that you can have with that levy. So looking at today's session then on how to structure your build. Now, we thought we would go to a builder, the builder would do the costing, and some 18 months later, bank balance depleted, we would have our home, our dream home. So we set about doing what any right-thinking self-builder would do, and we set about doing our homework.
Yes, that's just what it was, homework. Every weekend for over a year we sat in front of people who told us how much they thought it was going to cost us to build our home. I mean, the quotes fluctuated wildly, and I think many of the people we saw looked at us and decided they'd give us a quote based on what they thought we could afford. I mean, we went out of area and took recommendations far and wide, but it didn't make any difference.
Yeah, so I think, we'd probably still be doing this now, doing our homework, but what decided us was a meeting that we had with a local builder. He'd come to me and said, look, I should be doing your build because I'm still around. A lot of the local builders have gone to the wall. So as testament of the fact that, we are, that company was good, it was still around. And, that made a huge amount of sense. But he had a small team working with him. And my concern was, how was he actually going to do the build with his team? So he started talking to me about, how he was going to subcontract various bits of the build. Wally down the road was going to be doing the groundworks and this person was going to be doing the brickwork. So I said to him, well, who in your team is going to be working on this build? And he just looked at me and said, look, we don't have enough people to do your build, so I'm going to subcontract it out. And that sort of really crystallised our thinking on it, because we were going to have all these people involved in our build, and for the, we were going to be paying 20% on top of build costs.
Yeah, I mean, 20% seemed to be the standard in the industry, but the icing on the cake was, as Carol said, it was when we did get a quote, it was basically on the back of a fag packet. I mean, that meeting we had with him, short though it was good in that it made us realise that the only way we're going to get what we want is if we do our own self-build, and that's what we decided to do. So we went away as the main contractor, running the build with a team of professionals, hiring trades and the contractors that we need. And that's what we did. We then looked at what our legal obligations were in terms of regulations. I mean, we had to prepare a construction phase plan.
Mm-hmm. Which basically set out the various stages of the build and in the timing as well.
Yep, and also there was health and safety. We had to coordinate and manage our contractors who supervised themselves.
Yeah, so what we did is got each of the contractors to do a risk assessment statement, which they're well used to doing. And then we had our health and safety consultant look at those risk assessment statements.
Yeah, then we had to provide welfare facilities. We provided a place for them to rest, toilet and wash facilities. We used the garage for part of that, and then the chemicals toilet. And then finally we had to prevent unauthorised access onto the site. So we had to secure the site via a locked gate a lock on the gate.
Yeah. So it's really important that you comply with all the regulations because, the penalties for non-compliance are, in some case fines, obviously will delay your build, but, worst case scenario, you can be prosecuted. So it's really important that you comply with all the regulations. And what we also had, and what is, really essential in this case, is to have site insurance.
Yeah.
Because we'd never done a self-build before, we thought it was really important to surround ourselves with good professionals. So we had, obviously, we had our designer who did the construction drawings. We had a structural and civil engineer. That was all provided by one firm. We also had the electrical and mechanical engineer and a site manager as well. And we also just mentioned is a health and safety consultant. So these people, good team of people all worked together. They'd never worked together before, but we made sure that they met regularly and there was a sort of good exchange of information.
Yeah, it was quite a big team. Even if we used a builder, we just still needed to employ the same group of professionals. Really close to the build. We got to make decisions, often at short notice, and we got what we wanted. So, for example, when the windows weren't inset sufficiently into the walls, in accordance with the construction plans, and then we called the designer, the engineer, and the bricklayer. We had a meeting, got it resolved. It just meant that we knew what was going to happen, and things weren't done, and we were told after the event.
Yeah. So I often get asked, would you structure your build in the same way again? And I would, because, as Adrian said, it gave us that degree of control. But during the course of the build, I did meet somebody who, if I did actually say that I would use that person because although he couldn't help us with our build because he was committed elsewhere, he was a great go-to person. I guess I slightly amend that to say if I did a build again, I'd work with that person to do the build.
Yes. Well, my only tip is, don't go into this lightly. Don't even think about managing your own build unless you have vast amounts of time and passion, because quite frankly, it's going to consume you. It's like the fairground ride. Once it starts, you can't get off until it stops.
Yeah. So please like and subscribe, and hope to see you at our next session.
Thank you.
Thank you.